This episode of BrobusCast is brought to you by Time. Use it wisely, because we sure haven't. Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of BrobusCast. I completely butchered that intro. Gosh dang it. I'm your host, Jalen. With me today is David.
You're not doing that. Seriously? I'm not letting check myself.
Okay. And we also have Josh.
What's up?
Alright, and for those of you wondering, David got himself a new mic and a new headset, so you'll be able to understand him better, and Josh did not.
Nope, I got my phone.
Yep, I should steal my phone.
And I'm still on mine. Luckily, we are recording from my side.
Yeah.
Okay, so we need to make this nice and short and sweet. So let's just jump right into it, shall we?
We shall.
Okay, so first off, we have the ever incredible, ever requested, and extremely satisfying Power Rangers versus Voltron. And
After the animation.
I gotta say, this is probably my favorite episode to date.
I know, it is pretty cool though, I will admit.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it was really good. My dude, like this was been requested for so long. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah, this date back to like season 1.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. Yeah, you were saying something, Josh?
Didn't haven't they been planning this since like the beginning of?
Yeah. They've been planning this since the beginning of the entire show.
Yeah.
They just couldn't because sprites were an issue.
Yeah.
But now Torian on board, and now in office
Not a problem.
as of February of 2015, I think.
Yeah.
With Samus vs. Boba Fett remastered. That's when he joined Screw. That's when he started to. That's when he legitimately joined Screw Attack.
Yeah. When you made it awesome.
As if it wasn't good enough before.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah. On that note, Torian did an amazing job with the animation
Oh,
for
yeah.
this one.
He really did.
Yeah, it really looks nice here.
It's
Except for, what was it, the Voltron?
Some of the Voltron sprites.
Yeah, you were
The-
talking about that earlier.
Oh,
too.
yeah.
It looked weird.
yeah.
Like their faces, yeah, I can definitely see what Jalen is saying right now.
Yeah. And my other issue with the models themselves, like the robots were freaking awesome. They looked like freaking action figures, which was perfect.
Yeah,
Yes.
perfectly works for these two franchises here.
Yeah, like the robots looked like action figures, and they were awesome. And then the Voltron Force looked freaking ugly. Then there's the Power Rangers. They looked nice. They were just, to me, they just seemed a little too blocky.
Yeah.
They weren't like smoothed out. Yeah, like the Voltron Force, I'll give them credit. They were smoothed out, and they did look like them, but it was just their faces that was the issue.
Yeah.
Like everything else about them was fine. The Power Rangers, they looked like something out of like that one PC game, Totally Accurate Battle Simulator.
Oh yeah.
Oh, I've heard of it. Was it Jackson? Did I play it? I think he did.
I know it because a bunch of Vanass Gaming crew play it, and by a bunch I only mean a couple. Anyways, yeah, the Power Rangers looked like they were models that came out of those, dressed up as the Power Rangers.
Yeah.
which was fine but not good.
Could have been better.
Yeah, could have been better. Then there's the voice acting. The Power Rangers were perfect. The guys,
Yeah.
everything.
Especially the Red Ranger.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Alejandro Saab, I believe, voiced Jason, and he was perfect.
He was.
Perfectly replicated Jason.
Yeah, I could agree. Wasn't he the Red Ranger?
Yes.
Okay.
And I guess the guy who voiced Zack was cool.
That was pretty good too. Yeah,
But my issue is that every single character here, like not just with the Power Rangers, but with Voltron as well, like with the exception of Jason and Keith, they didn't really talk much.
Yeah.
That's the issue. They had like 2 lines outside of their catchphrases. Every single member of the Voltron force just before the fight, all yelling at the same time, Voltron! Like, outside of that, they only had like 2 lines.
Yeah.
Except Keith.
Yeah.
Which, that brings me to another complaint I have. I really didn't like Matt Bat as Keith. I really didn't. Something about him didn't feel right. But that's just me.
Yeah.
I guess that's just me, like... See, my connection to Voltron is the Netflix series, and Keith sounded nothing like that. But...
Unless they're pulling inspiration from something else, but I doubt it.
My guess is that they were pulling from the original cartoon, the original Voltron cartoon.
Yeah, I think they were. I think they said in the show that they weren't going to do anything like super fancy. They were just doing the original stuff. Like,
Well, they were compositing Voltron. At least they said they were. Like, they were including Legendary Defender feats. But they didn't show off any... Which is weird, because they didn't show off any footage of it in the analysis. I went back and looked at Voltron's analysis and looked specifically for the Netflix series, and I couldn't find it. It was weird, because they showed off a lot of it in the reveal trailer.
Yeah.
I guess the same could be said for Power Rangers. Didn't show off any footage from the movie.
Yeah.
Which I've actually seen the movie. It's pretty good.
I don't want to see that movie, but I thought they were going to have footage from the actual live action.
Yeah.
I thought they were too, but then again, when did that come out?
That came out like back in like late March, before like it was during the wait for who the Power Rangers are gonna fight. Like Venom vs. Bane had already come out at the time, but Voltron wasn't revealed. So yeah. Also, real quick, because I'm pretty sure we're gonna bring this up at some point. Just to date this, we are recording this the day the preview for one of the characters. We'll get to this later, but we're recording this the day one of the characters for the next battle. Their preview had just come out today. We're recording this then. So just to specify when we're recording
Reference.
Yep, there will be 4/19, 2017. And Josh may know what tomorrow is.
No.
I'm sorry. Okay, I'll stop right there. I'll stop with that joke.
Don't do it, dude. Don't do it.
I'm not gonna. The audience may know, but I'm not gonna. I did it enough times on this show, so I better not.
I feel like every time you make that joke, I should just start cutting it out. Because you do it way too often.
Yeah, well, sorry. I've gotten... Well, once again, we do this around, we take about an hour to do this. Let's see, around 3, so I guess it kind of happens. 3:30.
Yeah, we're not doing it this time. Anyways.
Nope, we're doing it around nighttime.
Yeah. There was something else I wanted to bring up, too, that was really good. Oh! Yes. Okay. So, the music. Gosh, dang it, the music was amazing.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
The music was really good.
Okay, guys. Okay, first off, that was an original soundtrack, by the way. And
That was original?
yeah, that was original. I'm just gonna say this one phrase. I'll edit it in, and hey, who knows? Maybe it will play into our title. All right, ready? All hail Brandon Yates.
Oh, we were talking about that today.
Yeah. Brandon is just a god, man. He is super, super good with music. Like, he's done a crap ton of 1 Minute Melee soundtracks. He's done quite a few Death Battle soundtracks, believe it or not. So this is not his first time at this, but this is probably my favorite original track to come from him.
Yeah.
So, like, there have been so many good ones, but this one is just, oh.
Really out there.
Yeah, so there's our title, by the way. All hail Brandon Yates.
There we go.
That was quick. Seriously, I'm always the one coming up with the titles. Anyways, I've come up with every single title to this show so far.
Yeah.
Weird. Anyways, I guess my other issue with it, outside of the fact that we're all upset that, you know, we agree with it, but we're all upset the Power Rangers lost.
Yeah.
I think we all would have preferred to see them win. Even though we all knew that was just a pipe dream. That was not happening anytime soon.
Yeah.
Voltron's ridiculous. Anyways,
Good night.
my only other issue is that I feel like the fight itself was a little too short.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Like, as hyped up as it was, like how much they hyped this episode up, and the fact that, hey, it's our 75th episode, it was pretty short.
Yeah. It kind of was actually like the normal episodes take around like 25 to 30 minutes. This took like around, I think 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm talking about just the animation alone. The animation alone was like 4 minutes.
I mean, like, I was expecting the Power Rangers and the Voltron Force to fight a little bit and then pull out the mechs.
That's what we were all hoping.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they just kind of went to the mechs immediately.
Immediately, yeah. But you know, that's really weird. But you know, I guess
If they
it's
were-
one thing because you know you have the mechs. Why not?
Yeah.
In fact, Voltron Force were already in their mechs. You know, one mech and a human against one human. That's
Once
that's not gonna end well.
once the animation started, I knew that they were not going to fight on the ground, because the Voltron Force was already in their max. I was like, oh.
But I guess that's just probably because they were already putting a lot of money into this battle, so
Yeah, I guess.
pay for more animation.
Yeah. And like, I mean, at the issue isn't that they didn't. I mean, it's kind of an issue that there was no team v team fight, but the biggest issue with that, outside of the fact that, you know, it didn't happen, was the fact that, well, they called it Power Rangers versus Voltron. If they were gonna, if this was the case, they should have called it Megazord versus Voltron.
Yeah, they really should have. You know, you're not gonna have. It's the Megazord versus, you know, well, Megazord piloted by Power Rangers versus Voltron piloted by Voltron Force. So
Yeah. Okay. Now there's so much more we can sing praises about this fight, but because we're pressed for time, we're gonna need to move on.
yeah. And that would be to the next death battle, right?
Which honestly, I am not that excited for. I am excited, but not as much as the only other episode I've been less excited for was Scrooge versus Shovel Knight. This one, while it's hype worthy, it's not a matchup I've been looking forward to, just for reasons. And it is Natsu from Fairy Tail versus Ace from One Piece.
Oh, we're having that kind of fight.
Yeah, we're having this fight again, and my interest and knowledge of both of these shows has not has not changed since Zoro versus Urza, which was the last one.
Well, didn't you say something about this being animated by the original animator for Zoro versus Urza?
Yeah, this is Jets again. and that
Yep, Jets
that
again,
makes,
that's what I
that
was thinking
that
of.
that makes me happy, because Jets is probably my new favorite 2D animator.
Yeah.
I mean, I would so change that thought if we got Hypergauge back, but we know that's not gonna happen.
Probably not.
Because it's not Screw Attack. It's not so much Screw Attack not willing to get them back. It's that Hypergauge just doesn't want to come back. Because they just started to grow away from Screw Attack and not really care for them anymore. It's like we welcome the fans. We just don't like Screw Attack. There you go. But no, this fight. What is there to be said? Like, no one really. I mean, everybody cares. Everyone wants to give a crap as to who's going to win this fight, but no one really seems to want to talk about it. Like, they're just kind of shifting their thoughts into something else. But people still debate it. They just not. It's just not as much. Like, people still talk about it, but it's just not.
But not like other battles.
Yeah, it's not a lot of talk. There's talk, but not a lot. This is probably the least discussed episode this season so far.
What do you think it would be because it's, another, fairy piece?
Fairy piece.
Yeah, pieces of fairy out for sale now. Okay.
And Tales of the One. And Tales of the One.
Okay. Let me be serious. Would you think this is because this is another fairy tale versus One Piece episode?
No, I think it's just because, like, honestly don't know why. Like, well, it's requested. Like it's actually pretty. It's not like Goku versus Superman levels are requested. It's kind of like, I would say probably on Mega Man versus Astro Boy levels of requested, which was requested quite a bit, but there's just not like a super big one that they have to do or whatever.
Yeah.
I guess a better comparison would probably be also Zoro versus Urza. Anyways, I've looked into this, and the way I see it, I think I brought this up with Josh. The way I see it, I honestly am kind of troubled at this. Okay, just for all you people watching at home, I'm pretty sure David and Josh does. I'm not sure about David. They probably already know this, but I personally want Natsu to win this one.
I think you did say something about that again.
Yeah, I want Natsu to win this one. But the question is, the question isn't will he. The question is should he.
Yeah.
We'll get to will he later, because that's two different questions, and then we'll have two. And with this one, they'll probably have two different answers for this one.
Yeah.
Oops, wrong button.
So.
I accidentally disconnected myself. I meant to mute myself. I clicked on the wrong button. Oops.
So.
Episode title, Jalen? Accidents?
No, it's still gonna be all hail Brandon Yates. Alright, so, the way I see it, Natsu is better in the speed department, the versatility department, and the experience department, considering just how short-lived Ace's story is. Spoilers. And Natsu is the main character of Fairy Tail, therefore he's had way more time to develop and get better and get more experience than Ace, especially like I said, considering how short-lived Ace's story really is. But Ace has his own set of advantages. I think from what I've seen, he seems to be stronger. He's probably tougher. Natsu has more abilities, but Ace has better abilities.
Yeah.
maybe. And he's like 10 times more destructive than Natsu. One of his attacks, he was fighting a guy named Blackbeard, and yes, he is exactly who you think he is. And when their attacks clashed, both of them covered like halves, each covered one half of an entire island, which is crazy. I don't know how big this island was. I'll have to look at the scene again. But that's still huge. Way better than anything Natsu's done. And David's typing now for some reason.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, I think he muted his mic. So yeah, that's really what I see. Like, first, so I have two questions with this, and hopefully, I have my own answers, but hopefully some One Piece and Fairy Tail fans can correct me if I'm wrong. But to me, the question one, okay, Ace is better in hand combat, but can Natsu hold his own against that?
Yeah.
Like, can Natsu hold his own against Ace's superior hand-to-hand skills? Because I'm pretty sure Natsu was mostly self-taught with like a couple years of training, like when he was really young, with a couple years of training under like this fire dragon of some sort. I forget his name. They mentioned it in the preview. But outside of that, he was mostly self-taught, which is kind of the issue, and will work against Natsu in this fight, whether it should or shouldn't, because other characters that have been mostly self-taught have lost, like Urza and Nathan Drake. Like, they were mostly self-taught, and they lost, and that was part of the reason why they lost. So if he can, that's great. I don't know if that would give him a guaranteed win, but if he can, cool. That helps him out. The other question is, and this is the bigger one, can Natsu hold Ace down long enough to eat him? Because here's the thing, Natsu has the ability to eat fire. That's the thing. That's what's working for him here. That he can essentially eat every single attack Ace can throw at him. Then again, Ace has intangibility, which just bodies most, if not all, of Natsu's abilities. But they've had characters with intangible powers lose before. Like the Scout and Shovel Knight. I think Luigi had intangible powers as well. I don't remember. And the other, so if he can, then he can fully eat Ace, and then he wins. Like, whether that kills Ace or not, he wins. Done deal. It's a solid BFR. Whereas Ace actually has legitimate ways to kill Natsu. Natsu doesn't, but he can still BFR him. And I think that, and honestly, I think that's more likely than Ace killing him. So I'm gonna give this fight to Natsu.
Yeah, me too.
There was something else I was gonna say. What was it? I forget. Oh, well, okay. So so bottom line, I say Natsu's gonna win. But the other thing I was gonna say. So that answers the question of, do we think he should win? Now there's the question of, do we think he will win? Because this show has had very inconsistent methods of who should win and who will win.
Yeah.
Yeah. and Shovel Knight. Anyways, so sure, Natsu is probably should win. You can debate that either way, it doesn't matter. But then the question is, will he? And honestly, I'm gonna have to say yes. Because now this can get countered one way or the other, but I can totally see Ben and Chad saying that Natsu will win because of how much experience he has over Ace and the fact that he could just eat him. Done deal. I can totally see that being the case, even though that gets countered in a lot of different. That could get countered in a lot of different ways.
Yeah.
But I could totally see them bringing that up, which I guess works in this case. I mean, as much as you could argue against it, it works out for me because Natsu is my preferred character here. I want to get a win, please. I only have Venom. I only have Venom this season.
Yeah.
And then Scrooge v Shovel Knight was just no. So I really should have 2 wins, but I don't. Hopefully I'm pretty sure I'll get 2 with Natsu. Like, whether it's accurate or not, I'm probably gonna get 2 with Natsu.
Yeah.
And I'm not even gonna, like, I don't care how positive or negative the reviews are gonna be. I'm just not gonna talk about, the outcome when this episode comes out. I'm just gonna stay out of that. I've had my moments where I've been on the defensive side or on the offensive side of whether or not this character should have won or not. Like I'm on the offensive side on whether or not Bowser should have won. I'm on the offensive side on whether or not Mega Man or Shovel Knight should have won. But I'm on the defensive side with fights like Gar vs. Toph, Tracer vs. Scout, Yang vs. Tifa, Wolverine vs. Raiden. I'm on the defensive side for that.
Yeah.
But there are fights I'm on the offensive side for, and then there are those fights where I just don't want to be on either side.
Just don't talk about it.
I just don't want to talk about it. Like some guy says that like Hulk should have won or whatever, and then some people will say no, Doomsday totally wins. I'm just kind of in the middle there.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's a bad example. I'm on defense. I'm on team defense with that. No, a better example is Tracer vs. Scout. Like some people are like Tracer totally wins, and some people are like Scout should have won or whatever. I'm just dead center. I'm like, okay. Like I don't want to talk about it because I'm gonna get hate no matter which side I'm on. So I'm just gonna be like, I don't care if it's right. I don't care if it's wrong. I'm just gonna stay right here. You can be on either side. I don't give a crap. Although this is coming from someone who wanted Scout to win that. But anyways, that's not the point. So,
That was kind of hoping for Tracer, to be honest.
I was hoping for Scout because at the time I had known what Overwatch was, but I was not super familiar with it. I didn't get totally into it until like the weekend before it came out when I finally picked up the game. And played as essentially everyone and sucked as essentially everyone.
I did that same thing too. Though I really see my problems with the Scout. But then again,
I was talking about Overwatch.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Team Fortress 2.
No, I didn't get into Team Fortress. I didn't get into Team Fortress 2 until like February of this year. I don't remember. No, it was late January because I was downloading that while studying for exams. Anyways, so yeah, we've been stalling. So bottom line, this fight's hype meter is meh. Natsu probably should win, and Natsu will win. There you go. There's your TLDR. Alright, moving on. We have 2 more things to talk about, and then we can just wrap it up, because we have very little time left. Alright.
Very little time and very little topics.
Yeah, these 2 are relatively short, so we don't really have much to worry about. First off, which is probably the shorter of the 2, Raph versus Wolverine.
Yep, Raphael versus Wolverine.
I thought that was a little more of a stomp in Wolvie's favor.
Yeah.
A stomp and a very short stomp. I was very shocked.
Wolverine
just charged in and then Boomstick goes, "Here we go!"
Yeah.
Could you
Yeah.
say you were shell-shocked?
Just shocked.
Boo.
Yeah, I was like, yeah. That was like, we're starting now. Holy crap. Like that. Like,
Anyways, yeah, no, Wolverine stomps Raph and then proceeds to solo the entire TMNT verse, and I'm honestly kind of okay with that.
Yeah, I was thinking, who in their right mind would really think that Raph would be Wolverine?
I don't know. I mean, he could knock him out, like what Paul did to Guile.
yeah, that's
I don't
true.
think he'd kill him.
But if we're talking like a battle to the death, like no research or not, Wolverine definitely wins. But that doesn't derail the quality of the fight. The fight itself is all right. It was
Pretty decent.
it was good. Like it was fast paced. Raph got his credit. Wolverine got his credit too. So like that's the big thing I've been looking into now with DBX. Like, is one character going to be a punching bag throughout the entire fight, and they're not a punching bag, and it gives me so much more praise for it. Because we've had so many fights this season where, and by so many I mean 3, where the losers have been just absolute punching bags. Case in point, Iron Man, SBO, and Link. They were punching bags, and they lost. Every single other loser this season, minus maybe Genji, wasn't a punching bag. And even then, Genji's a sort of maybe. Like, he got some cool moments, but not as much as Raph did here. Like, I'm honestly surprised. Because of how outclassed he was, I'm honestly kind of surprised that Raph got so much credit. I thought he would be kind of made to be kind of a fodder, but no, he got his cool moments, and it was kind of pretty cool. And he was laying the smackdown on Wolverine, and then Wolverine was kind of laying the smackdown on him as well, and then he mutilated him. Gosh, that ending is so brutal.
It's Wolverine, what do you expect?
I know, but you have to really feel bad for the TMNT fans out there. Here we are. Here we are, Raphael, the first Ninja Turtles character to be in DBX, and look what happens to him.
He got his arm cut off, and then
He got both of his arms cut off.
Third time we had turtle soup.
Gosh dang it.
dude,
I know I said
that
it.
was okay.
Gosh dang it. Alright, moving on. Okay, my other...
Well, Death Battle DBX altogether.
That's all.
some turtle died.
DBX as a whole is just kind of like it's an average show. It's not super good, but it's not super great. It's not super bad. It's kind of in the middle. I guess that can summarize DBX as a whole, not just this episode.
Yeah.
But this episode, my other issue, and I guess this is kind of like a nitpick or whatever. I thought the sprites were a little too low quality.
Yeah. I thought they could have done better, but
It looked decent.
Yeah, they were fine. Alright, so, moving on.
Next topic, let's see.
1 minute melee. 1 minute melee. M. Bison versus Rugal Bernstein, aka God Rugal.
God, Rugal.
Okay, getting this out of the way right now, I can totally, like, I'm not knowledgeable in Rugal at all. I'm very knowledgeable in Bison though, but I can totally, but with what I've seen of Rugal, I can totally agree with what people were saying in the comments and reaction videos and yada yada yada, that Rugal should have won this fight. I can totally agree with that. But that doesn't derail anything because his 1 minute melee research is non-existent. And even if it is existent, it's basic research.
Yeah, it's not like the little more in-depth stuff that Death Battle offers.
Well, that Death Battle mostly offers, but that's not the point.
More like Death Battle's fueled on research, DBX and 1 minute melee, not really.
DBX does nothing. Like, they just have a fight. There's literally no research. 1 minute melee has some, but it's not as much. So honestly, if we're talking about who could have the more accurate results more times than not, I would say 1 minute melee. But anyways, that doesn't derail from the show as a whole or this episode. This episode itself was kind of meh. It was a new guy who animated it. It was and I heard also on Hypergage's Discord channel that apparently the animator was trying out a new animation software doing this fight. So for our first time at Hypergage and for our first time doing this new program, he was alright. It just doesn't stack up to 1 minute melee's normal standards.
Yeah.
And honestly, I found the guy who voiced Bison to be just bad. I didn't like him.
Yeah, it was weird when he talked. I mean, I know it's like kind of going with the whole Street Fighter thing, but it's more like, he talked, his mouth was open or it wasn't,
No, I mean just his voice. Like, he had voice clips from the actual Street Fighter franchise, and that was fine. But when they actually got the voice actor for him, I already forgotten what his name is. When they got the actual guy to voice him, that sounded way too weird. I didn't like it. I liked the cameos in the background though, like when they were entering the actual lab, like halfway through the fight, and there were tubes behind them. There were actually a bunch of characters in the, by a bunch I mean 3. Like when they entered the room and busted through the tube, the guy who fell down on the ground and who Rugal eventually used the Raging Demon on, that was Seth from Street Fighter. That was interesting. The cameos in this one were really good, I thought. Like in the tubes also, like that weren't broken, you could see Zero from Mega Man and Mewtwo in the tube.
Yeah.
I don't know if David saw it, but
I did not. Would you like to show the audience though?
Sure. Here you guys go. Okay. Yeah, I'm not gonna show the actual animation because Hypergage kind of has a rule against that, but
Show pictures though.
yeah, I'll show a picture of the cameos.
Like screenshots or something.
Yeah, and when we eventually derail from this, I'm just gonna zoom back on over to the actual thumbnail. Yeah, overall this episode was just kind of eh. It was fine. It wasn't the worst this season, but it wasn't nearly the best. It's around like my top 5 least favorite DBXs, just as not DBXs. Top 5 least favorite 1 minute melees this season as a whole. It's not the worst. It's not even like mid tier for the worst. But it's not the best. It's eh. It's there. It's good. And I know he shouldn't have won, but at least my preferred character won. I know he shouldn't have. But at least he did. But I can totally agree with what people were saying. Like, from what people were telling me, Rugal is about, even God Rugal is a little bit even more powerful than Terry. And if we remember how powerful Terry is, and if God Rugal is more powerful than him, he should have had no issues against Bison, especially since he had a part of Akuma's powers apparently. Which on that note, I forgot about another cameo. There was Cyber Akuma for some reason.
Oh, that was Cyber Akuma? Oh.
Yeah, some sort of skin from Marvel vs. Capcom 3 for Akuma. I don't know.
Huh. Interesting. I did not know about that.
he was there for some reason. So I guess this kind of connects not just the other the Skullgirls 1 minute melees, but also the Akuma / Oni versus Kenpachi 1 minute melees and all the ones that tied into that. So I guess there's that. So 1 minute melee has a lore, everyone. It has a very, very convoluted and very well thought out lore. It's amazing, actually. It actually has two really big ones. There's one with this. There's this one, and then there's a gigantic one with other episodes, like especially ones that take place in that one city that always that we always see get destroyed. Always we see it being destroyed. An example of this season is Raiden versus Genos. That city that they fought in, that's part of like a huge continuity that they have. I guess Piccolo versus Martian Manhunter also, because we see Superman flying away from something. We never got specification as to what. And then an explosion occurs in that city. That's what he flies to. I don't know if you two have seen it since the last time we talked about this, but but yeah. So yeah, like most 1 minute melees, there's not a whole lot to talk about because there's only 1 minute. I guess my only I don't know. Like, both characters weren't punching bags in this one, but they could have showed off a little bit more of their abilities, I thought. Like, especially since Gamerguy was here, I was kind of hoping Bison would go Final Bison. I was kind of hoping for that, but I'm not upset that he didn't. Okay, I am, but... which wouldn't have changed my thoughts on whether or not he should have won, to be fair. But, yeah. So... yeah, there we go. And I think we're done. This was relatively quick.
Yeah, well then again, we only had like 3 things to talk about.
Well, 4. There was not 2 VAs.
4, I mean.
Yeah, we will go into way more discussion next time. Trust me. I promise you, people watching, we will go into way more discussion on the next episode. Sometime after not 2 VAs. We'll have more to talk about. Oh yeah, and also, both DBX and 1 Minute Melee hinted at their next episodes. I'm kind of excited for the 1 Minute Melee, not really so much for the DBX. I'm not gonna say anything because people probably don't know. We'll just save that. We will just save that for. I'll tell you once we're done recording.
Alright.
But everyone watching, I'm not gonna say a thing. In case you guys don't know. If you do, awesome. You know exactly what I'm talking about. If you don't, whatever. You'll find out in like this weekend or what? Not this weekend. Next weekend. Sorry, didn't mean to overhype you. Yeah. So. Yeah, there we go.
Short little podcast for you.
Sure, a little. Probably even shorter than the last one, which is a new record. We need to set better schedules. Gosh dang it.
We had a lot of time management issues here. We're trying to get it all set up.
Heck, the message I left at the very beginning, I even linked it. I even put it in the BrobusCast chat room on Discord. That literally summarized why this is so short, because we are absolute time wasters. We literally could have done this on like Monday or Tuesday, and we didn't.
Exactly. Wasn't there like a death battle or something? Like, oh no, the death battle of Voltron Force versus Megazord, wasn't that on Wednesday?
Yeah, that was literally last week.
Oh, that was early last week. Oh. Yeah, we definitely need an organized schedule here. Like, say.
Yeah, but to be fair, we also were waiting for Bison v Rugal and Raph v Wolvie at the time.
Yeah.
It was coming out that weekend, so.
That's very true. make this episode
we, yeah,
death battle, then it'd be a lot shorter than it was here.
yeah.
Whereas we talked about this death battle, the next coming one, and
To
then
be fair,
DBX in 1 minute
we,
melee.
to be fair, if we did just do that, we could have gotten into so much more discussion with Power Rangers versus Voltron that we wanted to go through, but couldn't. But even still, it'd be just we'd have two top. I guess we'd have a little bit more than two because there are things that I've been dying to talk about, but because of time, I've just never been able to. Heck, the Master of Interruptions, kind of forced me to hurry it up when we were talking about when we were just finishing up the DBX talk. Yeah, and that's what we did. And it took a lot longer for us to actually leave than I thought. So, but we still couldn't have fit anything in. We probably just could have talked about stuff longer, and that would have been it. But no. So next time I seriously freaking hope Josh and David probably know what I'm talking about. I'm not gonna say a single thing though. Next time I can't promise anything, but I really hope that we'll have those topics to talk about next time.
Yeah.
And we'll have I think at the very least one maybe two 1 minute melee, not DBXs, and one 1 minute melee, because the next one from what I've heard is the season finale.
Season finale for 1 minute melee.
Yep, and they don't know. They don't know. You'll know in a minute. So yeah, that's what we got to talk about. We spent a lot of time on kind of wrapping up the last discussion. Okay, we're done. We're done. This is gonna be so boring to edit because of how little we needed to talk about. Yep.
I don't do the editing stuff. I do have, my computer that'll be powerful enough, but that's your thing, not mine.
Maybe you should. We'll probably work that out later. You should probably download an editing software.
I was actually thinking about doing that, doing the editing and any sort of things that you would want me to do. That's an interesting.
Okay.
Because I do have my computer all set to go. I kept running TF2 just fine.
Yeah. And I have my laptop, but I don't know if that'll be powerful enough. I downloaded two editing softwares. One is iMovie, the other is I believe VideoPad. I tried to download Adobe Premiere, but that didn't work out. Plus I've seen tutorial videos on Adobe Premiere. That software looks terrifying, so I didn't I didn't bother with it. Okay. What do you think of when you first take a look at an editing software? What do you first think?
Well, I would first think of it as something that would allow me to make a video however I would so desire.
Okay. Let me rephrase that. How would you first react? You take a look at it and you see all those different commands you could use. What would your first feeling thoughts be?
Okay, but could you repeat that, please?
Okay, picture this. Paint the scene here. All right, just follow along as I go.
Okay, I'll make sure to do that.
All right, you have now downloaded an editing software. All right.
Okay.
You get into it for the first time, not knowing a single thing about it. What is your first, what do you feel inside for the short time?
Very confused and a little terrified. I see what you mean now.
Yeah, so take that and multiply that by like 10. That seemed to be, that was my reaction with Adobe Premiere. Plus it wasn't free, so there's the other issue.
Oh, it wasn't free. Oh, that's definitely a no-no. I want a free editing software that'll do me just fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we need to wrap this up.
Yes, we do.
We've been talking way too much. Who knows? Maybe David will add something in the future. Who knows?
We can work something out. You know.
All right, so we need to go, and I need to go right now.
All right.
So,
Well,
thanks
see you later.
for watching, everyone. Hope you guys enjoyed Natsuko vs. Ace, because we probably will. We probably won't. I don't know.
I may not.
With how little hype this is, we might not. But with how good the animation is destined to be, we probably will. It's kind of the Scrooge versus Shovel Knight syndrome. Like,
Yep.
we're not hyped, but we are hyped, essentially. It's super weird. So, thanks for watching, and we will talk to you guys in the next video, whenever that will be. See you, everybody!
See ya.
Bye.